Hi, good afternoon. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer and David.
I'm Dave Villalobos from Soul Revolt.
So we did a show with Dave 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
Showing David's light system.
The Relay light system.
Yeah, the Relay light system. I call it yours, but it's the Relay light system. And how they use that to grow cannabis and better, faster, quicker, more potent, all that. And so when this Jeff Sessions decision came down, I'm going around in my car and I'm thinking, I got to talk to somebody about this, and I don't want to do the typical news bite where you have people, blah, 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 and I want to have a real talk about this thing and what this could mean. So you're connected with the industry because of what you do and how you do it.
But more for infrastructure with lighting, sustainability, looking at the footprint. But yes, advocacy and the whole industry as well. But yes.
So when you hear this decision come down, what is the industry thinking? You don't speak for the industry, I know.
Oh, goodness.
But it's all over the board, but are people a little nervous? Or?
Oh, sure. There's I think across the board, there's a lot of people that are genuinely nervous because a lot of us in the industry, we've lived through this for decades. And there's been, a continuum of a culture shift. I believe a lot of medicinal and things like that.
I'm going to toss this. You keep talking.
No. It's just so I think as the culture shifts and we're moving into more acceptance and people are more welcoming and open to the idea of letting basically the federal government know what we're doing. And I think some of which Sessions might be doing is saying, hey, people are making money from this and the people are speaking. Maybe we need to look at this differently. By all means, it is federally illegal. However, a lot of people in this state and a lot of other states have spoken,
voted.
And there's revenue that's generated. There's jobs that are being created. In this state alone, $85 million in revenue for taxes alone, going to schools, going to police, education. So, yes, it's true. It is illegal. There are people that are really scared, and we don't know what could happen.
Judy Simmers says, trust Sessions. I think this is a distraction. This is heavy stuff going on right now.
A distraction. I think it could be a distraction. Some people really have a strong opinion of who Jeff Sessions is, and maybe the relationship between him and our president. And, they have differences of opinion regarding cannabis.
Because Trump in the past has said that he's supportive of medical use of cannabis.
Yeah.
And you had a bite. You had a...
Well, and who can
you had
trust...
a soundbite, but you had a soundbite.
Who can trust what's fake news, what's real, and what he said on the campaign trail to where we are now.
But you do have a soundbite of him saying that, so we can assume that maybe that's...
I think he's a businessman, and I think he's looking at it from that perspective that, yes, if the people are speaking and he wants to go in that direction. I think there could be, like Judy was saying, there could be a total distraction with, Jeff Sessions hasn't been maybe whatever connected to the Russian stuff, and maybe Trump is like, well, look what Sessions is doing this. So that people have clearly spoken that they want the weed. But I don't know.
So you guys, again, this is just Dave and me having a conversation, talking about with you, which is what we should be doing in our communities. And when I call Dave, he's going, because we're kind of both into this kind of thing, like not just the cannabis issue. I mean, but just
what people are doing and
we should be talking about it, because you cannot rely on. I mean, when I came up the stairs, I looked on the headline on the Register Guard, and here it is, and it sounds like the sky is falling. And I think we need to step back and go, okay, what does this really mean?
Well, absolutely. It could mean a lot of different things. I mean, not too long ago, it was completely illegal. There were raids. There are still raids happening. If people are, moving this product across lines and doing things that aren't legal, of course, that's going to give political banter for Sessions.
And that is, according to what I've seen written, that is happening out of Oregon. And so people who are...
I mean, I think
it's going to happen.
This originally comes from like Morocco, so you want to say where it came from or where it's going. I think it's going all over the place. But what I'm really in support of is the education of it. And why are people so interested in this? And I think, the voters have spoken. And I think it's a hot topic to be able to discuss, to get us basically fighting and divided about it.
So it is good, okay, I want to see what somebody else says. Big of people to put energy into fighting something other than focusing on the current administration going down. Okay, that's, and Rocky, you're just watching. Okay, so it's also, but in a positive way, this is a good time. It's good to bring these topics up, because then we can all discuss them and say, okay, so what do we think about cannabis? And
well, I mean,
we voted for it. We talk about it, but this is just one more opportunity to go, okay, when it raises to that level.
Well, what they're really talking about is they're talking about the Cole memo back, of course, with Barack Obama. And, that basically said to not really focus on it so much. Let it go, let the states have their sovereign. And, Trump supported that as a transition. Obviously, Sessions has a difference of opinion of that. The way I look at it is I think people are speaking more and more. And even former supporters of the president, and as that culture shifts as well, maybe they're not so interested in coal jobs in West Pennsylvania. They just want to go back to work. And if we're seeing this as a booming trend, if we're seeing, the medical side of kids with, seizure disorders, with autism, with cancer, and jobs are created, it's kind of sad in some ways to see them reaching at certain straws to try to divide when the people have spoken, and I think it's going to continue that way.
Do you think it's good that the conversation goes, because maybe it does in some way force Trump to move a position on it? You know what I mean? If he's anti, let's just play a game. If Sessions and he are having these little battles, does this mean all of a sudden this could be something where he pushes ahead a little bit further? Who knows?
I mean, ultimately, the federal government is the federal government, and it's against the law. And so the fear is out there. It's looming. So it could be this, it could be that. They could be having this political banter. But the reality is that it could happen. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. I think they're more focused on people that are, blatantly breaking the law.
But how do you know if you're a grower or
I don't know.
That's the scary thing to me. That would be
that's where we come from.
Don't muddy waters with medical versus recreational. That's what Brian O'Neill is saying.
I don't think anybody's muddying any waters with medical or recreational. I think that's a continuum. I think we saw it here. Medical happened first, of course, in this state, like it did Colorado, Washington, like it was in California. And recreation definitely has assisted in that transition. So I think it's going to be a continuum. So not muddying the waters, but I think they're looking for... they're just looking for ways to regulate it and to get consistent. And I think as this culture is shifting to monetize it in a way, I think that's what's happening. This could be used as a deterrent for states that are looking to transition in the near future to stay away from it. Maybe don't invest in it. We're seeing some of that happen.
We did see. Right. I was reading something this morning that some of the market in marijuana is dropping because it's reacting. Well, it's reacting to this news.
It could fluctuate in different ways.
Okay, hold on.
No, it could fluctuate absolutely in different ways.
I heard that from sources, Jeff Sessions is getting kickbacks from tobacco lobby. Well, okay, Wayne. There's all kinds of stuff going on out there too. It's easy to it's easy to get sidetracked on that. But I think in terms of Brian, I think you're missing the point. Okay, I'm just trying to keep up with what people are saying. So because I think what this is going to bring out also is that real battle between medical and recreation, where there's people out there going, okay, for medical, yes, but I'm not sure on recreation. But the voters of Oregon said yes to recreational.
Yeah, we could have we could muddy the waters with medical, recreational, looking at the different uses, but I guess we'll just go straight for it. I mean, Jeff Sessions, he does have a history of a certain track record of having certain political beliefs on certain demographics. And I personally believe, coming from Latino, person of color, being in the cannabis industry, I feel we're in a unique opportunity to kind of shift this narrative of the historical context of the way it was looked at. And cannabis isn't, some devil lettuce that you're afraid that the Mexicans are going to get you stoned and rape your women and things like that. Those days are over, and it's almost sad to see people getting sucked into that right now.
That's the downside, in your opinion, is that it's going to give fuel to that debate again.
Well, I mean, it just happened last year with the Let's Build the Wall. I think just today they were talking about, I'm going down that path, but they're talking about, asking the government for $80 billion to build a bunch of wall down in Mexico or whatever. I just think this is another thing that, like, it's a button that the American people are talking about. They're passionate about it. It's another thing to shift the focus on, and I think it's working in some ways.
So marijuana is an easy. Brian says, could a state then choose to ignore gay marriage law or abortion law or tax law or gun law to their preference?
Well, I mean, that takes us down a quick path, but we just, I think it's pretty clear that the current administration is trying to inverse a lot of what the past administration did. And whether that's, being spiteful or making it, a reality sitcom or whatever we're a part of, I'm trying really hard to choose to stay focused. And, people have spoken. We want to make this more sustainable. And if having conversations and talking about people and how they feel uncomfortable, in the end, that increases sustainability.
Because I think what you can learn from this is that politicians will use this you have to go deeper than what's being said. And I hope culture that we're going to someday learn that is that you cannot just look at headlines or what the political things. You got to start looking behind that and say what else is going on. Whether you're on the right or the left or the middle, or left of the middle or right of the middle, wherever you hang. Some of us hang to the left, some of us hang a little to the right. But you got to look deeper than just what's being said. No, stop conflating the issue. That's a misdirection. Stay on topic. Okay, I think he's talking about the comment before that.
Like gay marriage, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. Obama made it sweeping. I don't know. That could be the future.
Joe Ricken, I don't know what you're commenting about. You're saying, I'll volunteer Judy. So Judy must have said something up here.
Good.
There, Judy. We need marijuana lobbyists. Oh, yeah. Well, there's a marijuana lobby, isn't there?
There's definitely groups. I mean, that's not what we're kind of talking about today. Right. But yes, there are groups that support that. Locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. Normalizing it, absolutely.
And you guys, to kind of, this brings up a topic here. Okay, Cyrus Victor says, well, how do we change it on the federal level?
Well, right now there's a group going on. I believe it's with Move On. You're gonna have to double check. Maybe somebody can put it on. But there is there's basically a group going around lobbying for signatures, contesting for the federal government to.
So it's Congress. So it's our lawmakers. So
and seeing and in my opinion, looking at it from an economic perspective. So of course, coming from. I mean, we sell lighting, right. So when we're looking at reducing footprint, sustainability, growing more, all of that. But also when we're looking at creating jobs and sustainability and isolating supply chain and supporting, we might be looking at Arkansas.
But aren't you taking money away from the big drug companies? If I'm not using opiates anymore?
Well, I think to play what Jeff Sessions is talking about, it's already happening. Right. So what he would like to do is look at what's happening with the regulation. The feds might come in to do some assessments and different things. Who knows?
But maybe that also what they're talking about too is could that also start that conversation where people say, okay, now because I think there's this.
I mean, alcohol was illegal not that long ago. Then it was legalized, and they were still doing raids to figure it out.
Right, and
there's still moonshiners.
Right,
I hear maybe.
But
there's even shows about it.
We're apathetic about. So I think what sometimes happens is, so Oregon got it passed, so we're okay. Well, if you live in Nevada,
there's only 4 million people here.
Right. So maybe that's what the conversation will get going is that does the United States of America, do we want this to be the federal law to be changed? And maybe that's what changes the congressional folks' mind because the conversation's starting. I'm trying to find a positive here.
Yeah.
If maybe the conversation starts up and people say, we don't want it. We don't want the federal law to change. But at least the conversation comes up.
Maybe. I mean, all of those, I think, are, points. I think the current administration regarding UN, things like that, topics that are up, I don't know. I mean...
Bubba McCoy says, exactly. Get that change on the federal level. Bring it to a head. And Cyrus says, thanks, Bubba. That's where I was going with that. Wayne Gilbert says, Normal could be considered a lobbyist group. Oh, no. Is there a group? NORML?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm not going to look at. Maybe we'll put it in the comments later. But I did just get sent that group. They are doing a national.
Angela Piercy. Really okay, Angela Piercy says, I'm a Republican and I think Jeff Sessions will get shut down really quick. Marijuana is used by all kinds of people for many reasons. Hey, it's a really good opportunity too, because I want to, what Dave has educated me about is, because I'm learning to be really big on words and what they really truly mean. And so one of the things, and I'm not criticizing anybody out there using the M word for marijuana, but really what David and I had this conversation, and cannabis is the preferred term because that's the plant.
Well,
and marijuana has some negative connotations back to when it was that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, absolutely.
I think it's just fair to talk about that because people know. The more we educate people, I had somebody come on the other day and use the R word. For something, and I was going, well, I'm going to take this opportunity to just tell you that there are people that really is offensive to. So it's just, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think with cannabis, it's kind of a nice thing to just educate people a little bit about.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, a lot of us, we believe that, prohibition, when cannabis was made illegal and it transitioned more into the marijuana, it had a lot to do with the timing during the Mexican Revolution. And the United States being concerned of illegal immigrants coming across the border, taking jobs, maybe associating cannabis, but cannabis was prolific. Hemp was prolific in our clothing, in a lot of our pharmaceutical
rope.
It rope in so many different things. And I truly believe, and especially seeing it happen 2017, 16, right now, 2018 with Sessions. The association and the demonization of Latino culture and associating it with marijuana and associating it with the Spanish derivative years ago, looking at, reefer madness and things like that. It was used as political banter to demonize. Honestly, it hits home with me, my culture.
Right.
And I just got back from San Diego just this last week and seeing, my great-great-grandfather and seeing their graves and hearing the stories of my grandfather coming to the United States, being born as a woman to hide because we were... Anyways, I'm not going to get into all the details.
But the point is that there is a culture of people that marijuana could be a term that could be tough.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that maybe if we shift that and maybe for me growing up, maybe my culture isn't what it was because it was so politicized that maybe marijuana, cannabis wasn't or isn't what it is or what it was made out to be so divided. And just to shift the focus and getting people to think about it differently.
So that's all I bring that up for, is just so that people are aware. Because I think stuff like that's important, because I don't know it as a white guy living in my culture. I don't know it until you explain that to me. And that's why you hang out with people that are not like you, because then you figure out, you learn things like that. And I'm not going to let that moment go by without these folks being able to have that second that they can learn that. So anyway, that's kind of...
No, I appreciate you. Not a lot of people think about
Angela,
that.
And then Angela comes on and says, sorry, cannabis. But that's how change happens. So this is about states' rights, not about whether or not using cannabis is ethical or medical, says Nick Hargrove.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
we're in agreement.
And as far as what
no,
I'm saying
Christy,
is,
you can say marijuana. What I'm saying is there's another aspect of it just to take in consideration. It's not a rule.
You might want to think that marijuana was an American term that was associated with Mexican culture around the Spanish-Mexican Revolution. So it was politicized as a way to demonize a culture around immigration because it was cannabis. So if you look around the world, it's referred to as cannabis. Prolifically, its American term is marijuana.
And so if that could be taken derogatorily by some culture. So it's just something to think about. And you do what you need to do, but I just bring it up because I've learned it, and then I think it's really important to not be offending people.
A lot of cultures refer to it as marijuana, but you got to also think the United States has over 600 military installations around the world.
Right.
We have a pretty big influence.
So the industry itself, what we've been talking about is this decision, or this comments, the decisions by Sessions. The industry, they're going to keep doing what they're doing here in Oregon. There will be people that will be affected. The people are a little bit nervous about it because We don't know. People
well,
don't know what's
I think Sessions is bringing it up right now. I mean, legalization just happened in California.
Right.
There's 44 million people there. We had 4 million people here in Oregon. So if you multiply that by 10, we're looking at $1 billion here in the next year or so in taxes. That's not even the revenue generated by the jobs.
So perhaps the federal government just wants to get in on the action? It happens in everything else we do. I said it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But no, I think there should be concerned. It's been anything as a cultural shift, whether it's the color of an American skin, whether it's something that was illegal that is illegal, whether it's alternative abled individuals, whether it's there's hot topics around it, and I think the federal government finds ways that pick on our pulses, and they know that they might get us in the voting booth. And I think when we're seeing things like big businesses, corporations, and having a direct connection to our government, we're seeing this happen, and I think it's happening right before our eyes.
Right.
And as long as the people stay engaged, I think
because Dave and I come from different perspectives on some things, but you know what? This is what I love, because we get to have these conversations, and I'm not afraid to disagree with you, and I'm not afraid for you to talk on here and say things that I may not completely agree. It doesn't matter. We're having the conversation, and if we don't learn to do this, I think the worst thing that can happen is apathy. And I think that's, to me, my personal thing, I think that's what they want. I think people want us to become apathetic so we're not involved.
Well, I think apathy is definitely, we've come around to that. I think it's further, and it's more burgeoning on complicit.
Right.
To be, they want to actually be bought in and be complicit to some of this stuff. So I think, not that there's some major revolutionary or something, but I think if we want to protect our bodies, we want to protect our food, if we want to protect the medicine, if we want to protect that stuff, I think we need to talk about it and engage.
So, Steve Miller, the industry is lucrative. The feds would be wise to cash in on it. Yeah, well, they sure cash in on mine, and it's not that lucrative.
Does anybody else get 30% or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh. So anyway, I called up Dave this morning and said,
thank you.
I don't want to do the news story where, how are you feeling you're going to be affected? I just want us to have the conversation. Just let the states do their own thing. Tax the state, and states tax the consumer. The federal government needs to take lessons from you, Rick. Yeah, they listen to me. They really want my input.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, it is something that's regulated in our state by the liquor control. It is something we want to keep out of the hands of kids. I think adults, recreationally, that's what I believe in and what I support. The medical side of it, definitely I'm in support.
You don't mean keep it out of the hands of people recreationally. People could take what you just said.
I'm talking about
keep out the
keeping
hands.
Keeping it safe, regulate, and yeah.
The bigger problem with the government is they mess up anything they get their hands on. Okay, Steve, that's that's another story. There's your problem. The feds have their hands in too much. Okay.
Yeah, that.
That's going to happen. And I guess do you think this is really to try to control the black market? And can you control the black market?
I have no idea. I have no idea what it is exactly somebody in the federal government's trying to do. I know that there's fallout and different things. All I'm really in support of is getting people talking about it, getting educated to kind of shift that culture, to kind of look at it differently, that you can actually save lives, you can change lives, and you can do it very efficiently as well, thinking about your footprint and all of those kind of things. But I guess why I wanted to come on here and you asked me to be here and to talk about it is that, we might be afraid, but if we're afraid about all this stuff, then fear
is not a good motivator.
No, if we're gonna get busy being fearful about it, we're not gonna do anything, and I think that complacency is what you're talking about. Is bad, and I think and I think it's kind of ironic to be on a show talking about cannabis and talking about being motivated and not being complacent and active and getting out there, because that's one thing that I've always wrestled with is maybe if the federal government demonized this years ago and associated it with like being a lazy Mexican, maybe it's not.
Right.
Maybe it is like, you know, like you told me that you don't smoke weed anymore because you stopped wanting to tell people exactly what you think.
Right.
Maybe you were too mean. But maybe they don't want us smoking this stuff because they don't want us sharing what we think.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know.
You know, and I know too many, for me, the real switch has been, I'm not, the recreation side is not big for me, but the medical side is really big for me because I know too many people who are, and I'm not anti-recreational, it's just not my thing. But medically, I have too many friends that are going to some of the local dispensaries here, and their lives are saved. And these are kids who have like seizures every minute, but when they're on their cannabis or their CBDs, they don't have that. And a little girl in Cresswell who can't eat, she doesn't get hungry, she has all these issues.
There's been families that have moved for years, decades that we've known, that have moved to this region of the world because of the laws are different.
Right.
Because they're from other parts of the country where they would be arrested for giving their kids stuff like this.
They already know it's not bad for our health, it's bad for their business. Thanks, Rick and Dave. Have a great day. Cyrus, you're welcome. And you guys, here's what you can do. So I guess what do you learn from this? That we're all going to have different opinions. We may be on different spectrums of what this is.
Spectrums, I like
yeah, the spectrum. But don't be afraid. Don't fear it. When you see the headlines and you see this stuff, go a little deeper. Dig a little bit further than what you might want to, and don't just fall into line with what your party or your politician or the media or what they're saying. Don't just fall in line with that. Think for yourself. I've spent 3 years fighting for my life, witnessing people get relief for a cure for ailments of all kinds.
And like what Rick was talking about is like, you know, don't buy into the fear and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that we do need to keep our head on a swivel at the same time. We do need to be compliant in some ways, but we do need to continue to push.
And be aware. And I think you and if you want to know how you get federal law changed, is you write your Congress people. I mean, let them know what you think, and not just, I would say, not just Oregon. I mean, I would go in and find out who's going to be put on these committees, who's going to be talking about this, and those are the folks you want to write. Because I think sometimes we write our Congress people, and I think ours are supportive of what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to take it outside the church. I mean, you got to get other people to hear this.
Yeah,
and
get it out of the echo chamber.
Yeah, go to Iowa.
Yeah, you can go to moveon.org. There's a Support the Marijuana Justice Act.
Can somebody put that in the comment things? Yeah. Moveon.org.
And there's a petition on there that supports the Marijuana Justice Act, and that's looking at legalization on the federal level. So that's something to look at.
So the other thing you can do for us is just take this and share it on your page and say, because I think what's cool and what I love to do with this with Dave is we don't have to be in the same place, on the same thoughts on everything. We can still have a very civil conversation and not have to be at each other's throats. And what I love about you guys is most of you anybody that came on and started to go there, it kind of got squelched. So just keep it conversational. Let's don't argue with each other because that's my personal opinion is that's what they want.
I think
I think that's what they want. They want us to fight over this rather than let's come to some consensus and figure it out. It needs to be changed. Okay, yeah, move on. Everybody's putting that on there. MoveOn.org. MoveOn.org. You guys are awesome. Right. I don't need to be secretary.
Yeah, please share it and get the conversation going. And I'm not some like aficionado. I'm not representing the whole thing.
It's just two guys having a conversation.
Just like in culture and just like in anything, we have opinions. But I think that I think we do need to move on and look at things differently. And I think if we make these things about economics and get the people connected, there's nothing that anybody's going to do to stop it.
Right. And thanks, Dave, for coming in, because I know we're not going to go into this, but you're going through a real hard time right now with some family stuff and things happening in the world. And you took time out of your day to come down here and do this, and I do appreciate it. And wish your family well. And
thank you.
What's ahead. So you guys share it, have fun. Thanks for that. Now here's my little pet peeve. Did you see what just happened? That's what's supposed to happen. That's how it's supposed to work, and it does if you just do it.
Yeah, you guys have no idea about the blocking and the storyboards before. No, I'm just kidding.
Give me a hug.
All right, man.
Oh, yeah, no, thanks, man. Yeah, thank you. See you guys later. Share it. Thanks, guys.